Hello everyone, welcome to True Blue Quilts. And today I wanted to do a little bit of show and tell because I went fabric shopping. I have been working on some 9-patch blocks and I needed some additional fabric for those blocks, so I hit up my local fabric store and I've got quite an extensive stash from almost 15 years of quilting, so I don't do a whole lot of shopping just to be out and browsing. I like to go with a specific plan in mind. Of course, some other optional things always tend to jump into your basket, but I don't think I grabbed the inspiration fabric. Well, I needed yellow to match some quilt blocks that I've been working on. And there are quite a variety of yellow shades. The first piece I saw was this bright yellow. Right when I walked in the store, it was on display. And trying to read the selvage here, and I don't see a manufacturer. The line is called Cottage Joy by Shannon Christensen. So it's a beautiful bright sunny yellow with these white circles on it. So that will be a nice neutral, give it a little bit of interest there with those circles to frame some of my red and blue 9 patches. And then I found this other fat quarter, kind of a little bit more orange, but I think those two will play nicely, and the circles on this fat quarter match and coordinate with the circles there. I also picked up some yellow from the Moda Dimples line. You can see they're almost like the golf ball little hexagon dimple shapes. They are giving this honeycomb look, and again, I'm trying to find a little bit of variation. I don't want everything to be real flat and completely matched, because you need some of that depth, that glow from having different tones there of those fabrics. And I love the blender aspect of these Moda Dimples, that they come in wide range of shades, and so you can find something for almost any project, and that little bit of texture just makes your blocks, it gives them that much more life. And then I found this other great tone on tone, almost woven pattern, and again I'll look and see, this is a Moda fabric, but I missed the part of the selvage that has the collection name on it. But for those of you that collect selvages, isn't that cute with these little, has little birds looking over their shoulder. I don't know if I'm getting that in the camera very well, but those were my new additions to my yellow range. And you can see they're all kind of in the same family there. This lightest one is a little bit brighter, but that'll give it a little pop, some interest there for that patriotic project. I'm making the 9 patches out of red, white, and blue, and then I will frame them in yellow. So as I was wondering, I have to walk around the whole store, make sure I don't miss anything. I found this great patriotic print that's, again, it has some of the same, tones of yellow, not exactly a match, but I think as a border, this will give you a lot of interest there to draw in and kind of close in that that patriotic feeling of the quilt. So I like to throw in a lot of different shades of color families when I am working, so I get a lot of life there in my quilts. And then you're standing at the cutting table waiting for them to cut, and your eye wanders. And of course, being strategic marketers, the people at my local quilt store put bins of fat quarters right next to the cutting table. So I had to grab some Moda Grunge. I love this new sparkle kind of star design that they put in with those grunge fabrics. Wonderful. So I grabbed that. I'm always stocking up on blue fabrics, and these cute little cherries in red from Kimberbell Designs was another one. So I always stock up on those basics, reds, blues, any neutrals that you can find are always a great purchase, just a little stash enhancement. They are not exactly what I went in shopping for, but you've got to treat yourself a little bit. And people I know will be curious. I bought some fat quarters, so I've got that easy size to work with in my stash. And then for these other fabrics that I took off the bolt, I bought a 1/2 yard. I know I want to make a scrappy quilt. I haven't done all the exact math yet. I'm just kind of in that stage where I'm making blocks and playing a little bit. But a 1/2 yard gives me a good option. Yes, I did look for fat quarters. I wasn't going to ask the staff at the quilt store to cut fat quarters for me specifically. A 1/2 yard isn't too much. It gives me enough to play with there to do a couple different size strips and things that I may need for my quilt projects. So that's how I decided on that size there for those yellows. And you can see I've got a bigger fold here of this border fabric. There were only a couple yards left on the bolt, so I took the whole thing because I knew that would be a great border for this quilt, and you typically need more yardage for borders than for some of the other blocks in your quilt, especially if you're going to put some longer strips there. My goal is to make this quilt, these 9-patch blocks, work for a Quilt of Valor, and I like to make my quilts for that charity about 60 inches by 70 inches. So I know I will need quite a bit for the border there. And this is a great fabric to put in as a backing. You can put a strip across depending on how much I have left. So sometimes those fabrics just speak to you and say, you know, go ahead and take what's left. So and at least my local quilt store gives extra little bit of a discount for buying the end of bolt. So I always look, and the rule of thumb is to count the folds on a bolt of fabric, and for 2 folds, that's a yard of fabric wrapped around the bolt of the core, the cardboard center of your bolt. So you can do a quick count if you're trying to see if a bolt holds enough yardage for your project. Count the folds on one side of the bolt and divide by 2, and that should be an estimate. It's not always going to be exact, but it will be an estimate of how many yards are left on the bolt. So I use that as my little math trick for the day. So I think I will get started here with my luscious yellow fabric and put some borders on my blocks, and we will have some fun quilting. If you're curious about the tools and equipment that I use in my quilts, please visit truebluequilts.com. You can download my essential tools guide for quilters and see the different scissors and rotary cutter mat, all those basic kind of supplies that you need in your sewing room. I also have a newsletter that goes out if you'd like to stay up to date with what's happening in the world of True Blue Quilts. I'm getting ready to launch a new collection of patterns here in about a month, so you'll definitely want to get on the newsletter list for that, and you can do all that at truebluequilts.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back here next time.